What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tips and Tricks. I'm your host, Max at WeVideo, and as always, we've got another great episode lined up for you today. Shout out to everyone joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. As everybody enters the chat, let us know where you're from. If you have any questions, we'll get to them throughout the show. Before we get into the details of today's episode, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as well as hit the bell in the top right corner so you get a notification anytime WeVideo releases a new video. We've also got our Tuesday Tips and Tricks landing page, which you can go to and see any of our previous episodes, as well as subscribe to our Tuesday Tips notification email, which goes out every Thursday, letting you know what the next week's episode will be on. And with that, let's get to the bulk of today's show. Today's going to be a little different. I'm not going to bring Tyler on right away. Rather, we're going to be going over how to get the most out of your business plan. This includes adding members, creating projects, setting roles. And with that, we're going to bring on Andrew from the WeVideo support team. Everybody, please welcome Andrew.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and show you a few tips and tricks for how you can add users, create projects, because when you have a business plan, you have those 3 licenses or more. So to really take advantage, you'll want to be able to add other people. So we're going to go ahead and get going. So when you do have your business account, what you're going to want to do is go to the admin tab. And under admins, members is where you're going to be adding new users. So in my account right now, I currently have 2 licenses used up with 2 users. But I'm going to show you how you can add an additional user. So anytime you want to add somebody, you just select add members over here, and you'll see these different options appear. Really, the main ones that you want to focus on are invite code and registration link. So the way the invite code works is basically you have this unique code to your organization, and you just copy and paste that and provide that to anybody who has an existing WeVideo free account. And once they apply that code, it'll automatically add them into your organization. And what you can also do is uncheck this section right here to have to first approve them before they go in. But if it's checked, they'll automatically join once they apply that code. And I'll show you how we're going to do that in just a moment. But the invite code is great. That's especially useful when somebody already has an account. But oftentimes when you want to add someone into your WeVideo organization, they may not have created a WeVideo account yet. So that's when the registration link comes in very handy. So basically the way that one works is you copy and paste this unique link. And as soon as somebody pastes it into their URL, they'll have the option to join by creating a new account. And once they input their username and password, their account gets created and they're automatically added into your organization. So a cool thing about the registration link is you can also assign a role. So in your business organization, there's different roles, and the different roles have different permissions. So with the different permissions, you can modify sharing settings and which destinations are accessible. And I'll go over that as well. But let's say you just want to add them as the user role. That's the one you select. You copy it to the clipboard. And once they apply that in their browser, they'll just join your organization and create an account simultaneously. These other methods, sync with Google, sync with Office 365, and import from CSV, they're more for bulk adding. So if you were to have a business account with 10, 20, maybe more users, that's when you might want to use something like that so that you can easily add a lot of users at once. But if you're just adding 1 or 2 people, the invite code and registration link are definitely the way to go. They're really quick and easy to use. So most of the time, that's all that you really need.
And then, yeah, Andrew, before we go ahead, so by default, the business account comes with 2 additional seats, 3 members total.
Yeah.
But users have the option if they want to add more, they can. How would they go about doing so?
Yeah, so basically, it doesn't show in my account because just because it's like a WeVideo admin account. But in your account, if you were to search up in the admin members tab at the bottom left, you would see get more seats. And pretty much you would just click that and it's in that purchase. It's really easy. You just select that, choose how many seats you want to add. and then it just automatically gets applied to your subscription.
Perfect.
So once you have people in your organization, you can select them and you'll notice these action items appear at the bar. So you can double click into someone to view their user profile. That's just a way for you to assign them to a group or change their role or view existing projects that they're working on. So it's really easy to manage all the users in your organization. And if you want to delete someone, you have a couple options of what happens to their account. They can either be completely deleted and their account is removed along with all their data, or you can just convert them to free and then they'll just have their own individual free account. But when it comes to managing users, it's really quick and simple. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like to add in a new account. So we're going to go and use the invite code. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to another browser, which currently has a free account. So if you're not familiar, when you go into a free account, this is what it looks like. And at the bottom left, you have apply code. And this is where that invite code would get pasted in. And once it's verified, you click apply. And then you are just automatically added into the organization. And you should see that your features get upgraded. So you no longer have upgrade. And now you'll see that you have more templates available too once the page loads. And from the perspective of the business user, that's the admin, we're going to go ahead and go back there, refresh the page.
Bear with us a little bit. There we go.
All right. And once the page has refreshed, then you'll notice that that third license has now been used up with the new user account that I just added in. So as you can see, it's really quick and easy to add any user, especially with the invite code. It's literally just a copy and paste of the invite code. I just copy it from here, paste it into the other account, and they're automatically added in. So once a user is added in, what you can do if you want to assign them a new role, you just click on their account and click assign role, and it's easy as that to just change it to something else. Now, when you might want to assign a role, it just depends on the kind of destinations or sharing settings you want to have for those users. So next up, we're going to go ahead and go into the admin settings tab. So to do that, you just click admin. And instead of members, you now go to settings. So when you have different roles in your organization, they're going to be found at the top left over here. And you can even right click and rename them as well too if you want to get custom. But essentially the main thing that differentiates the different roles is where you can import and export media from and the kind of sharing permissions available. So for example, the admin role in this organization currently has everything enabled. And that means that I can import from Google Drive, Facebook, Instagram, Dropbox, OneDrive. Basically, all of the permissions are currently enabled. And you can change it so that each role has different destinations available. So for example, the user role in this particular organization only has Google Drive and OneDrive enabled. So unless you want to have specific restrictions, you can just enable all of them for all of the roles. But if you do want to make it so that specific roles only have access to one destination, this is what you can modify for that role. In addition to choosing which destination to import from, you can choose which destination to export it to. So similarly, you can toggle on and off different destinations. So for example, you can have Google Drive, YouTube, Dropbox, Vimeo, even a custom FTP. There's a lot of different flexibility. And for the admin role at the bottom, it's more enabled. So you can even make it so that all the different roles have everything enabled. So it really just depends on the kind of permissions you want to set and the kind of flexibility you want your users to have. But in addition to the destinations you can choose from for importing and exporting, here's where you can also modify some permissions. So for example, with projects, with the admin role, right now it's currently set that the admin can invite members from any group or all members. So essentially what that means is you can make it so that users can't invite members to projects if you want to be the only one in your business organization that can do that. So you can set the user role to have it so that they can't invite. And that essentially will make it so that you are going to be completely in charge of creating new projects and adding users to them, unless you want to make it so that the user has that permission as well. So you can get really flexible about creating projects. And we're going to go ahead and cover how to create a new project and the different project types available. But this is just one of the permissions that you can modify for a role.
Nice little segue there.
And
yeah, so before we kind of get into the specifics of how to create a new project, Andrew, maybe you could touch on or can help elaborate here as to like why someone might want to have a different project. Let's say they're working in like a organization where they're contracting out video editing and they've got one video that they're working on with one contractor and another with a different contractor, and they don't want the two to collaborate in between, or they want to separate the media from one another.
Yeah, good question. So basically in the projects, there's 3 different project types, and we're going to go ahead and go into the projects tab right now just to show you. So when you create a new project, you just select this plus icon over here, and you'll see this pop-up appear. So the 3 different types we have are personal, collaborative, and shared. So a personal project is just what it sounds like. You have no collaboration tools. It's just you making the project. Whereas collaborative and shared, this is where you can have other people in the project. Now, a collaborative project, that's something that you would want to pick if you want all the users in the project to not only have access to the project media, which is the shared media tied to that project, but they also have access to each other's content. So let's say you're working on a video with 2 other people and everyone is passing off work to each other and it's a collaborative effort. That's when you would want to use a collaborative project. But let's say, for example, you create a project where you have 2 people from 2 different companies and you want them to all have access to the same media, but you don't want them to see each other's work. So with a shared project, you can have everyone in that project access the shared media, but they can only see the content they create. So it allows you to be able to kind of monitor and organize everything in that project in one central space, but only you can see everyone's content, whereas the other members in a shared project can only see their own content.
Perfect.
And I'm going to go ahead and open up a shared project just so that you can see what it would look like from the user's perspective. So let's say, for example, in this project, I want to go ahead and add that new user that I just added in with the invite code. So I would go to the members tab, select this plus icon, and you can choose different ways for how you want to add members to a project. The first one, you can just add everyone in your organization, or you can choose specifically who you want, and you can do that by selecting them or giving them a link. But we're just going to go ahead and select them. So here it shows you if it's highlighted, they're already in the project, but I'm going to go ahead and add the new user who I just added in. So now that that new user is in, from my perspective, I have the nature documentary edit made by user account, my team meeting edit made by business demo. But now we're going to go ahead and view the other account that I just added to see what they can see, because you'll notice that there's a difference.
Cool.
So in the projects tab, you'll see this shared with me tab. And this is where you will have any project shared with you. So because it was just shared, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. Should just take a moment. So in here, that shared project that I just shared with this user now appears under shared with me. But when I open it, you'll notice that it's empty and there are no edits. So that's because this project has the shared project type. And that means that I only see content that I make. Whereas in this same project, because I created this, I see my content and I see the user account content. So for example, if this was a collaborative project, then from this account, I would see not only my edits, but the other 2 as well.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you're switching between an admin account and an user account.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So we did just have a question come in, Andrew. This one's from Albert. Says, hey, I like organization. After videos establish a pattern, there we go. How can I move videos from folder A to folder B or project A to project X?
So there's actually no way to move content from one project to another. So the best thing is to just create a project and make content in there. And then what you can do, for example, if you made an export in a project, you can just add that export as a media file into another project, because any exports that you make in your account, they get added to the My Exports folder. So if you have a different project, you can use that media that's in the My Exports folder as a media file to import into your other project. So the best way if you wanted to transfer content between projects would be to export the video. And then once it's a media file, you can then add that as a media file into your other project.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, let us know, Albert, if that's not quite what you were looking for. Is there a way to duplicate, Andrew, and then duplicate to a new project? Or do you have
No, so you can duplicate within a project, but not to another project.
Got it.
And just to show what a collaborative project will look like, so this one right here, and by the way, it shows on the right what the project type is. So whether it's shared, collaborative, or personal, it'll indicate that in this column. So in this collaborative project, we're going to go ahead and add in that new user as well, and we'll show the difference of what their view is with the collaborative project. So now that this user is in here, we'll refresh the page and go to the collaborative project. And that one will also appear in the Share With Me tab because it's a project that was just shared with this account. That member was just added in. So now under Shared With Me, there's this second project. And the difference this time when I open it is I now see their edits. And not only can I view them, but I can actually go in and open them and then modify them from my account. So when it's a collaborative project, anyone can access any edit and not just view it, but actually go in and make changes too. So that's an easy way to hand off work, if you want to pass off different assignments and really work together. So next up, I wanted to cover a little bit of the different sharing settings available. So when you go into account settings, or not account settings, the account members. Let's go back to the media tab. Okay, here we go. So when you go to the admin tab and go to settings, another helpful thing that you can modify is the sharing destination. So basically all exports by default, they're going to be private if you have this enabled, but what you can do is change them from private to public, and then that means that anybody with the link can view it. And basically the terminology private versus public, if it's private, it means that you have to be signed into the account to view the WeVideo export, and that's the account that made it. Whereas if the WeVideo export is set to public, then that means that anybody can view it with the link. You can think of it as an unlisted YouTube video. So this is where you can modify the permission to disable public versus private. So
and
here,
what's the going really quickly here, what's the default?
So default, it just depends on what you enable it to be. So
okay.
For example, here for the lead role, by default, it's going to be private, but they also have it enabled where they can change the privacy.
Okay.
So if you want certain roles to just by default be private and not even have the option to change it to public, that's what you can modify here under sharing.
Perfect.
And just a couple other things too, you can disable or enable whether social network sharing is available. So that would mean like if you want to post to Facebook or Twitter or have the embed code, this is where you can disable that feature too. And of course, if you want to just download the video, if you want to download it off WeVideo as an MP4 file, you have that option as well here.
Awesome.
And one final thing I did want to touch on within projects is that you can add project media. So let's go back into the project and go to the collaboration one. So let's say all the users in here, we want them to be able to have not only access to each other's content, but also access to specific media clips. So what you can do is go to the project media tab and share media with the project members. So what that would mean, so let's say we select media. And I have these dog pictures that I uploaded before, so I'm going to select a few, add them to the project. So what that means is that once it's added into the project, anybody in the edit will have access to the project media tab. So let's say we open up this edit over here.
Give us a moment.
If Wi-Fi behaves.
Yeah. Asking a lot doing a collaborative project while streaming.
So once you open up the edit, you'll notice you have the My Media tab, which is all the content you import, but you'll also have the Project Media tab. And that's just the files that I added to the Project Media. So basically that means that if you have media files that are on your account, but they're not on the user account that you want to use them, you can just add those media files to the project that you added that user into, and then they'll have access to use those media files. So that's a really helpful tool of projects, and that can be used both with shared projects and collaborative projects. So even if they have the shared project type and they're not able to collaborate with other users, you can still allow them to use the shared media by importing it this way.
Perfect.
And that basically concludes everything. So really the main thing is once you have your business account, what you can do is add members, create a project, and then modify the different project types or different role permissions for their roles.
Okay, so we did have a great question just come in, Andrew. This one's from Kim. She just asked, isn't this the same for an education account? Is there a reason you aren't saying that? Are there differences between business and education?
Yeah, good question. So with an education account, these are all features that are available as well. We were just focusing on the business account for the demo today, but you are correct. With the education account, for example, you also have the admin tab where you modify the members with all the same different methods of applying, for example, the invite code, registration link, Google Sync, all of that. So all these features are also available on the school plan as well.
Yeah, I think the big difference is obviously with the school plan, you're looking at a lot more seats in that plan. And that's when the whole import process and inviting users into WeVideo, that's when you'd probably want to use those other 3 options.
Yeah, like for example, when you're just working in a business account and you have 3 users, giving a couple people an invite code, super simple. But if you're a teacher working with, 40 different 4th graders, that might get messy with the invite code. So you can just configure Google Sync and then they get added in with a single sign-on. So it just makes it easier when there's a lot of users. But for business users in particular, the invite code and registration link are just clean and simple.
Cool. Hope that answers your question, Kim. Awesome. So we did have a couple other questions that came through, a couple other things to get to, excuse me. One of those questions that came through the Facebook business community was in relation to GIFs. So either, Andrew, if you want to take this, or we can bring on Tyler and he can go over how to export a video as a GIF.
Yeah, I can cover that.
Cool.
So basically, when you want to create a GIF, there's 2 different ways you can do that. You can use the GIF shortcut, which is from the Home tab. You just select Create New, and then it goes straight to GIF. So I'll show you how to do that really quick, and then I'll go ahead and show the second method. So when you choose Create GIF right away, you'll notice how in the timeline, it has this yellow highlighted section over here. Basically, that's just indicating where the GIF will loop. So you can even move that too if you want, I believe. Oh no, it has to stay under a certain, it has to stay under a certain length. But let's say, for example, you want to use some video clip from the stock media library. And we'll search up a nature clip just for this particular GIF. Let's say we use this one. Basically, when you have the GIF format enabled, you'll notice that all of the tracks are mute. That's because with the GIF format, there is no audio, and it's just essentially a video with no audio that loops. So let's say we have this GIF, we're ready, we just want to use this short clip. When we click finish and we set the title, by default, GIF will be selected. And this is where you would just choose between the size of a small, medium, or large GIF. And what's interesting is you can do that with any video too. So let's say, for example, we're going to go back to the Home tab. And we just create a normal video, right? We click Create New, choose Video. So we'll go right back to the stock media, grab a clip, bring it down. And because I chose video from the shortcut, you'll notice that by default, there's 100% volume for all the tracks. So even though there is volume for these tracks, and when I click finish, by default, it's going to choose the video setting. What you can do is change any video into a GIF. So if you just select the GIF option, then it automatically will mute all the audio and it will loop the video file and it will just turn it into a GIF. So essentially, anytime you want to create a GIF, you can either choose the create new shortcut and choose GIF, or you can turn any video into a GIF by just selecting that as the export format.
Awesome. So we did have a couple questions, comments just come in, Andrew. This first one is from Timothy Lee. It says, not really related, but is there a web browser you guys prefer to use for WeVideo? Pretty simple answer to this one.
I'd probably recommend Chrome. It's the best for that.
Yeah. Definitely Chrome's the way to go. And I don't think this works on Safari. Is that correct? You'd know better than me.
Yeah, I think with Safari, you can try to log in, but it won't even let you access your account.
Okay. Perfect. And then Mozilla, I'm not sure as well.
So Firefox does work. I don't believe that screen recording works. If you want alternatives to Chrome, Opera is pretty good. Microsoft Edge is also pretty good. So I would say top 3 are probably Chrome, Edge, Opera. And then Firefox also works, but not all functionality is there.
Perfect. Hope that answers your question, Timothy. The follow-up comment to that was just from Albert. This was in relation to last week's show, just pointing out that the last 3 save recommendations. So if you're working in a video, your last 3 saves will capture the thumbnails for your video. So he's just pointing out that worked. Happy to hear that.
Yeah, and for example, let's say you have a few different clips in and you want to choose what the thumbnail looks like. A little hack is where you save it with the blue playhead is what will appear. So
exactly. Yeah, that's what he's referring to. Yeah.
So like, for example, if I were to save it like this and then click finish, these are the 3 that are available. And I can go ahead and move it to here and click finish. And then there'll be different options. And then you can also change the thumbnail once it's already been exported just by dragging the editor to choose any frame in the video if you want to be really custom.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, that's nearing the conclusion of today's show. We'll wait for a second to see if any more comments come on. In the meantime, I do have to mention there were a bunch of new templates that were released today, ranging from the free plan to stuff that's exclusive to professional and business. Encourage you to check them all out. I'm not going to get into details about which is which, but I do know that there were some wedding templates for the professional business, and then some fun ones for the free, like National Pet Day, that sort of thing. So you can see all of those in your library and preview them regardless of which plan you're on. Awesome. Well, there's nothing else that comes in. Thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate you coming on the fly and giving us a quick lowdown of all things business plan. As always, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We rely on your comments, suggestions to keep this show going and appreciate your support. And happy creating. See you all next week. Bye-bye.